Welcome back to episode 100 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast.
It's been so many.
That's so many episodes.
That's a lot of episodes.
Holy crap. You know, we're going off the rails. Okay, 100 episodes, guys. Did you ever think how long ago was it?
2.5 years ago in your kitchen, sitting there on the table.
Do you ever think we'd get to 100 episodes?
The first episode I was on, it was recorded on a laptop at your kitchen table.
Yeah dude. I never thought.
I didn't even know there was a number this big.
we started on the kitchen table. We moved to the basement table, and now
we were in the basement. Now we're in the classic bedroom studio.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna upgrade eventually as well to a different bedroom studio.
Maybe. We'll see.
Knows? If we move to video, but
one day. Stay tuned in the next 100 episodes.
I forgot about the basement round table.
Yeah.
Where we were sitting in man. It's wild actually. Like we've covered so many different things. It's been awesome actually. I don't know. But it doesn't even seem as if it's been 100. It doesn't seem as if that much time has passed. Maybe because I enjoy it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like after almost every podcast, Cam and I go home and then I go, man, that was a really fun podcast. We just basically every time.
Yeah.
2 years. That's a long time.
It is. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't really think how long it would go for when we started it 2 years ago, but
yeah,
still going.
I still think there's so many interesting things to talk about. Even the topic we're covering today, we've never done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just out here trying to help you and ourselves get better at magic.
Well, hopefully. And with our 100th episode, we are going to do a giveaway. The lovely Wizards Tower, great sponsor of this podcast. Check them out for all your magic single needs, wizardtower.com.
They can now sponsor two of you.
With our 100th episode, we're doing the 100 for 100 giveaway. So you can enter into a draw to win $50 in Wizard Tower store credit. We'll be choosing 2 winners, so 100 total credit. To get put in the draw for the prize, you have to either follow us on Twitter and retweet our 100th episode, or like us on Facebook and share our 100th episode, or just being one of our patrons at the DWC Patreon. We'll get you entered in for this giveaway.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Free $50 store credit just for sharing and retweeting or just being a patron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wizards Tower. Thanks a bunch for the support.
Yeah.
Really
huge.
Can't say enough about how great their sponsorship has been ever since we started.
They've been backing us from the start. They've been strong supporters of the podcast. Just never kind of just gave us the creative reins to do what we wanted, but just supported us along the way and our decisions along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they've just been excellent as far as just people,
Yeah. And so, with 100 episodes, they're throwing in 100 store credit for us to give away. So, if you want to get entered in that, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, share this episode, and that's all you got to do.
Get yourself some free money to spend on new 6 standard cards.
Yeah. And also, we'll touch briefly on our Patreon, which we started a few weeks ago. Find us at patreon.com/DWC podcast. Becoming a patron gives you access to our Discord channel. It's been popping off recently with lots of discussion about the new set.
Yeah, it's great. I usually get home from university if I'm there doing work, and there's so many messages and discussions going on. Deck list, speculation. Even during coverage, it was actually awesome. Everybody was.
Yeah, we've got some live coverage channels where people are just like, I can't believe he made that play. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's sort of our own Twitch chat channel, right, to all watch. It's been awesome, actually. I love it. So I posted a couple deck lists or deck ideas in the deck list for our patrons.
We've got our new standard brews going up.
But the deck dump will be in the next 3 or 4 days where we post, but we're going to post them in the
3 or 4 episodes. Or days.
Maybe next week. We haven't decided yet.
Well,
but
I'm gonna post like.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna post dozens
into the Discord.
Into the Discord for our patrons in the next.
Yeah.
But the official DWC deck dump will be, who knows, a couple episodes. But we'll get them to patrons weeks ahead for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I got some brews, let me tell you.
Oh baby, do we
got some good ones.
But yeah, I think that wraps up the intro. We can move on to. This past week in Magic, we had an SCG Legacy.
The week that was a time-honored 100-episode strategy.
Has there been an episode without it?
No.
100 weeks that were. All right, that was really good.
We had an SCG Legacy event last weekend.
It was
It was an entertaining legacy event.
Even people in chat were even excited about it in the Discord channels, and it was 100 episodes too. Just like as a shout out our patron, just the support is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just
we really didn't know what to expect when we started it,
but it's just been overwhelmingly.
It's been great,
incredible. Yeah, it's amazing. But we were cracking up about how fun the legacy SCG event was. Somebody asked, "Oh, what's the meta like?"
There wasn't really one. It was just all over the place.
We watched 4 matches on coverage, and there were 8 different decks.
Yeah, and just not a repeat at all.
Not one. And it was awesome. The games looked awesome. Deathrite Shaman being banned is incredible for the format.
Yeah, 4-color Loam took down the tournament.
There were 2 of them in the top 8, right?
Yeah, lots of crazy decks. Turbo Depths, Grixis Control, Mono Blue Painter, Grixis Reanimator, Eldrazi Post. Man, Painter is not a deck we have seen in years.
Yeah, Mono Blue Painter. Top 8 at a legacy event in 2018.
What a wild world we live in.
Yeah. It makes me so happy. The first legacy GP I ever played in, I got paired against a Painter deck, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was just, that was part of legacy back then, so it made me nostalgic to see it top 8. Well, I got that guy good. I was playing Reanimator, and he named, blue or whatever with Painter.
Yeah.
And then he didn't know I was playing Reanimator yet, because all I had done was Thoughtseize him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I entombed and put, what's her face into play? You can't cast the color cards.
Iona?
Yeah, Iona. After he painted a servant named Blue. I was like, yeah, reanimate Iona. He's like, huh.
Damn it.
He's like, attack for 1 painter servant? No blocks. He's like, all right, concede. That was a fun match of Magic. Just insta dead to it.
Now, if I'm remembering what Painter Servants does, that deck can never beat Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, right?
Correct.
If it's in your opponent's deck, you just can't ever win.
Correct. Because it mills you out.
Yeah, because it mills you.
Because well, the new one also has another combo, right? This guy's version is also playing.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, he's playing also he can just beat you down. He's playing Sai and the Antiquities War.
Yeah. Ooh.
So he actually has a plan B of just beating you down. In fact, it might not even be the plan B.
It's probably just plan A and Painter Servant as backup plan.
Yeah, it looks like it. Because he's not even doing the whole all Hydroblast, Blue Elemental Blast main, which is what the deck used to do. And it used to be sometimes people would play Blue-Red Painter, because if they name the color, all things are red, they can just Blue Elemental Blast every permanent in your deck and every spell you cast.
Yeah.
But he's not even really doing that. It's almost like his plan A is an Antiquities War Sai, which is pretty interesting. But he still has the sort of backup, I might just get you with this Grindstone, because he's still playing 4 Grindstones. So
yeah, and I mean, you figure out pretty early what your opponent's doing, and then you just adjust your game plan.
Yeah, so he's got a good plan A and plan B. It's pretty sweet to see, actually.
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, he's probably still killing people with Grindstone. They're just 5/5s.
Yeah, but no,
right.
it's a wild, like the finals was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a chance, the entire finals was really good games of Legacy. The game 2 was really intense. Jonathan Rossum sort of punted it, but not in a single punt, in a strategic sort of.
Like, that's why it's really interesting, because you can kind of see what he's going for, but then at the end of the sequence of like 6 turns, you can be like, well, maybe he should have just been face sealing and killed his opponent. But you can see at every step that his decision is reasonable, but they all kind of amount to something that can't win.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and he knew it too at the end that he'd made multiple mistakes, sort of small mistakes along the way in his decisions, and he just shook his head and knew he'd blew it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a hard matchup for sure for Grixis Control to beat 4-color Loam. Loam just has so many ways to punish them. And yeah, it was a really good finals. It was sweet to see Legacy in such a healthy spot after it devolving into a basically 2-deck format for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. Coverage was awesome because it was Patrick and Cedric.
Yeah, they had their bingo sheets out as always.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
the picture of them both leaning sideways. To be able to read the split cards when they're doing the new preview. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I did.
Somebody posted it in our Discord, and I was cracking up so hard about it.
Yeah.
Well,
that was it, right? That's all that happened last week?
yeah, there's this other thing.
Was there?
Yeah, Worlds, right?
Worlds was last week?
Yeah, I don't know.
What?
It's not like Watsy ran any advertisements or,
Oh, yeah. I guess
I
the
don't
World
know.
Championship of Magic was last
at the
weekend.
end of a
eh?
dead format. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. That must have been a real exciting tournament, wasn't it?
23 of the world best.
Wait.
Wait, what?
What deck won? If you had to put infinite amounts of money you owned on what deck won the standard format from last season, what do you think?
Maybe I'm going to have to go out on a limb and say Rakdos Aggro.
Good old Arby's. You
Was
would be
it
correct.
an all Rakdos final?
I believe it was.
Huh.
It was an all Rakdos.
Shocking.
Racks on racks on racks.
Yeah.
Who could have thought?
Yeah. Look, the format for Worlds was kind of a
Was
bummer.
grim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, it's cool. It's definitely awesome to watch all these great players, play the game at a high level, but they got to fix something on the format and timing and their advertising for Worlds. It's a huge event.
Well, everything about that weekend was a train wreck, right? I mean, the format announcement, everyone was like, what is this?
I
This
get
is
what they were
garbage.
going through with the format. M19's Pro Tour didn't feature limited. It was their team event.
Right.
So clearly they're not confident in the M19 limited format. And then you go to the most recent format that they think is good, and you get
Dominator
Dominaria.
is well loved, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
But
get why
mean,
they did it, but I don't think it was smart.
Well, so they did for the Team Series Championship, which was also last weekend. They did Guilds of Ravnica sealed. Why not just have the Worlds be your first look into
Right.
Guilds of Ravnica?
Why not
draft?
showcase the new set?
Yeah.
Right? There's so many decision. I mean, it's Watsy we're talking about. They can't. They're so bad at managing their advertising, sponsorships. They're just terrible. Like, we can't expect anything, and I don't. And so Worlds was actually about as expected.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's awesome watching people compete at that level. But at the same time,
I mean, I didn't watch any of it.
I did, but it just wasn't interesting because why wasn't it? Yeah, Guilds of Ravnica sealed,
I don't know.
limited or draft. Sorry.
Yeah. Who knows? Is the logistics
And
too hard?
also,
I don't know.
why not modern? Like, I actually can't believe I'm saying this.
I think I
Yeah.
know why it wasn't Guilds of Ravnica draft. Watsy can't pick up their packs until it releases on the 5th of October. And so
You're right. Ken.
how are they going to give them to the players to draft?
Right. Yeah.
They have to wait until pre-release and hope to keep some of their winnings.
Yeah. Just
I
like
don't
the
know.
rest
Like,
of us.
I actually watched
So-
the Team Series finals because I thought that was really interesting because
But-
I wanted to see the new format.
But modern is the most popular format right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's actually in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
And that's crazy coming from us, where
Yep.
we've even had people yell at us on Twitter that we dunk on modern
That were
too
too
much.
hard on modern. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here saying the world
World.
should have been modern, right? Because that standard format was sort of broadly hated. I don't think it was as bad as people wanted it to believe.
It's just people are tired of it.
Right.
They don't want that.
And we're just sick of 50% of the decks in the room being red black.
yeah.
And yeah, we know. I don't think the gameplay is itself not that interesting. It's fine. It's standard. It's interesting, but the format should have been modern.
Like Red Black is such a solved deck. Like, it's been worked on by so many people that it's so consistent now, and it understands its game plan so well that even though the games are interesting, they're not new. Like, we've seen the same patterns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm agreeing with you when you say the world's format should have been modern. But in this scenario, I think it should have been.
Yeah, it would have been great. It should have been Guilds of Ravnica draft and modern. That would have been awesome. I would have watched the whole thing,
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
which is crazy to say that I would have watched that because I'm saying, yeah, I would have watched modern, but it's more interesting than watching Red Black Mirrors.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
shout outs to Ken Yukihiro, who a few episodes ago I mentioned playing the crazy Bone Picker deck. He was
Yeah.
the first one to play Hollow One. Shows up with Mono Blue Flying Men.
Yeah,
Got DQ'd.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate.
that was unfortunate.
Bit of a beating. I actually feel kind of bad for him because,
Yeah.
the whole situation is just awkward. I don't really want to get into it, but
I don't know. I think the DQ is appropriate.
yeah, it's fine. But I don't think he should be banned for it.
No.
It's just a
anything.
DQ.
Anything beyond a DQ, it would be.
It's a
absurd to
fine.
me.
It's a
Yeah.
fine DQ. They
Yeah.
don't need to punish any further than that.
Yeah.
because it was clearly a mistake.
Yeah.
On a mistake.
Yeah.
That was quickly corrected.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Definitely.
And he's still great because the Drake picture is Where he's saying no to Chain Wheeler and then pointing at the
Tempest
Tempest
Gen.
Gen, yeah.
I sent that to Chad, our friend who won a PPTQ playing Mono Blue Flying Man. He was very happy. Said he changed that picture to his phone background immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was cool at Worlds. It was nice to see one person play an interesting deck.
Yeah. True.
There was
But
a
yeah,
Storm
no,
deck or two.
Yeah, Brad Nelson was the only person. Yeah, he showed up with Psy. Like,
Really?
yeah, he showed up with Aethersphere Reservoir.
Was he insane?
Yeah, I don't know. He got
Did he win
stomped
at
on
all?
coverage. I don't know. I didn't see any other matches he played.
Yeah,
Jeez.
don't know.
But so I used to think that deck had an okay red-black matchup, but it got crumpled.
Not anymore.
I think it was one of those not anymore things now that they know what's going on, but I don't really want to talk about old Standard.
Yeah.
That's just a snooze fest. No, we've been playing with all these sick new cards.
Let's talk about new Standard because it's a bruise fest.
Cheesy
So
Pete's.
you guys have been going at it pretty hard with a bunch of new lists and new ideas.
Oh, yeah. This is pretty normal ever since Cam and I started just testing on our computers at home so we can talk and communicate better and play a lot of sideboard matches fast. And yeah, we've been playing.
Are any cards in the new set that have really impressed you guys so far?
Okay, so for me, last week on our top 10 list, right, we had Vraska Golgari Queen at 9, I believe.
Yeah, it was pretty low.
And that's because I had said I didn't even want it on a list and forced you guys to put it lower. And pre-recording, I was saying, like, no, you guys are idiots, basically. I was wrong.
Card's good.
First time for everything. It's not busted, but it is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was quite strong. It surprised me.
Because like we were skeptical of it because the cost of like the +2 seems so risky. Like you have to sack a permanent that you've already invested some part of your resources into putting onto the battlefield.
Yeah, it can be a mana disadvantage.
Yeah, it can be a mana disadvantage, but it ended up that like that downside's actually not a lot. You can build a deck in such a way that you either want to sacrifice things or you have things laying around that you don't mind sacrificing. And then late game, if you are top decking and you have 8 lands, it's not even a cost. You just cast Vraska, sack one of the lands you cast her with. You still can cast anything you ever draw. Like it gives all of your land cycling late game, which
yeah, that was big. It was big because early it was okay because it would come down, abrupt decay something, which is actually quite strong because so I think that treasure map is maybe one of the best card advantage engines in Standard, which is funny to say, but it's very good. Like the filtering and then just the mana advantage, the ability to draw cards, like it just does a lot. And it being able to just come down and abrupt decay, it's things like that, or a search for Esconta,
Yeah.
you know, and then later start drawing cards if it needs. But yeah, it's pretty good. It was surprising.
yeah.
I think maybe we should have shifted our number 1 card now to Aurelia.
Yeah, Aurelia has been overperforming. Night of Autumn has been good and like nice to have, but nothing exciting.
Yeah, I still think it's a top 5 or maybe 3 card.
Yeah, it's still nuts, but like Aurelia is just answer or die.
Yeah.
Nah.
Aurelia in our match, there were games where I would have to hold removal going, well, there's not a lot of ways in my deck to beat an Aurelia. If I cast this on something else and he top decks Aurelia, I just lose. So I'll take some hits first because I can't risk it.
Guess I'll die.
Right. Yeah. That happens.
Yeah.
So you got to be pretty careful. No, the card is phenomenal. We said this on the podcast on our top 10, right? That it pivots, right?
Yeah.
It plays aggro, plays defense. You know, 4 damage in the air is so much, especially when it has vigilance, right? It blocks everything.
Yeah. It makes something bigger when it attacks.
If you need, if not, it's just defend. It's just like 4 mana is not a lot.
Well, I mean, like in mentors as well. Even
Yeah,
if it
no,
targets
no,
itself,
yeah.
yeah.
4 mana for a 2/5 flyer. I mean, 5 toughness is a lot on blocking duty. Not a lot kills it. Like Lava Coil doesn't kill it, which is huge because Lava Coil is one of the best removal spells in the format. So Conclave Tribunal gets it, but like whatever, 4 mana removal spell gets it. Sure. Same with Vraska's Contempt. Sure, you trade even.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's a card that you top deck it late. You're top decking. It's going to kill them pretty quickly. So yeah, it performed very well out of the new cards.
An old card that we already knew was good, and because we knew it was good, I didn't expect it to overperform, but somehow it did. Llanowar Elf.
Yeah.
Really?
In that, with the rotation of Fatal Push, it just doesn't die. Like a turn 1 Llanowar Elf almost never got killed.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Unless you were playing like, because like outside of the very aggressive red decks, people probably won't be playing Shock, and they're not going to be playing Fanatical Firebrand. So it just, like, nothing kills it. All the removal costs 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think we're going to see a lot of mono red because all their cards are just so bad now.
It's okay.
It's
close.
It will take work to get it to a good position, but I've seen cards that I didn't think of putting in the deck at first that were like Runaway Steamkin.
Yeah,
just playing it, like ignoring the mana, just playing it as a 2-mana 4/4 is actually really impressive. So I think there is something there.
Yeah,
Flame of Keld,
let's you do
third
some
chapter
Flame
is
of
still
Keld.
nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I definitely want some matches and testing with mono red builds that are surprisingly still good.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You can still do it.
It's not as obvious as some of the other archetypes, but there'll be something there.
Yeah.
I've been just throwing multiple Path of Metal decks at you guys.
Yeah, we've been testing them. They're okay. They're pretty good.
Man, I really think that card has a lot of potential, and it's super sweet, and I really want it to be good.
I mean, in an aggro deck where you flip Path of Metal, which every creature in the deck basically does. It's easy to build the Boros deck to do so. You know, that card is pretty threatening against the mid-range and control decks because it demands they kill you back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they stabilize the board, I mean, so what? They still die to the 2 damage a turn.
Yeah,
Or
that card's just such a nightmare for control decks to ever beat. And even mid-range decks, its second ability, like...
It's a pretty good rock and a hard spot for, like, mid-range decks, right? Because the 2 damage means they have to race you, and the kill an attacker means they can't.
Yeah. No, it was quite strong. Beat them with the Jeskai mid-range deck, which I've posted on our Discord.
That thing's wild.
Gonna keep that kind of in the wraps for now.
For patrons only.
Yeah, that thing in testing has been excellent. Like, actually just excellent.
I'd say it's the best deck we found so far, like by miles.
Yeah, but we'll put it in the deck dump in a bit. But yeah, very good. What else? Oh, older card that also impressed us was definitely Eldest Reborn. That's got to be a top 10 power ranking card.
Top 10, top 5, something like that. Like, it's just so...
Like, for example, the Jeskai decks have such a hard time beating it.
Yeah, they can't do anything.
Right. Like, the Assassin's Trophy decks are a little better, but like you said, still not a big deal.
I was trying to talk to some people about how nuts we think Eldest Reborn is going to be in this coming format. And they said, like, oh, I'm not sure how much I want to play for a 5-mana Edict that then incidentally gets hit by Knight of Autumn or Assassin's Trophy. But Adam was playing the Eldest Reborn deck, and I was playing like green-white decks and other things. And I would like hold Knight of Autumns to hit Eldest Reborn so that I didn't lose on the spot. It was kind of like this weird veiled argument of like Jace Vryn's Party is not good because they always shock it. Well, no, they have to or they lose.
Right, exactly. They have to have an answer to Eldest Reborn or they lose.
Yeah. And then
so you can't tell me this card's bad because sometimes it gets answered. And it's still a 2-for-1 when they answer it, right? Unless it's countered.
Yeah. And if they don't, then it's, 3-4-for-1. Like,
yeah, because the cards you're getting back are just degenerate. You're going to get back to Fairy or Aurelia or who knows, a Chain Whirl or whatever. A Zoni, that's, then it's a pretty big game. But it just grinds out so much value. And again, in the current standard, the power level's a lot lower. And, people just don't have the sort of raw card advantage they had with Glimmer Gear Hulk or something like that, right? There's just not the same potential to grind out value. So Eldest Reborn does a lot of work.
I believe it.
On another note, I can tell you a couple brews that are not good. Trying to cast Omniscience with Joda.
Oh yeah, we tried.
Didn't work.
We've tried a lot of wacky stuff.
Joda, as in the wizard Joda.
Yeah, the one that you can play that you can pay 5 mana rainbow to cast things instead of their mana cost.
You pay Wooburg, and then we were trying to put Omniscience into play off of them.
Well, I had a nuts curve in mind, right? Lightning
I was dying laughing.
Lightning strike your guy on turn 2 or 3 so that I don't die.
Yeah.
Then flash in a Wrath, and you'll think, all right, it's some Jeskai tempo deck. Lightning strike Wrath, this makes sense. Whatever, attack you for 3, go. You tap out for whatever mid-range thing you're doing. I flash in Joda, I untap, I Omniscience you. Overflowing Insight myself to draw 7, probably cast another one, play a 1,000-Year Storm, cast a couple spells, and then Lightning Strike you to death.
That just lightning strike.
It all worked
the
out.
deck has 4 lightning strikes. You just need a 1,000-Year Storm after overflowing Insight yourself a bunch.
Holy.
Oh yeah, we had it all mapped out, man. We had it on the whiteboard and everything.
Not good.
It's not good. It's 100% not good.
I've seen a lot of people posting blue-red decks online, like Primal Amulet, 1,000-Year Storm decks. And I don't know.
You know what? So remember what did I say last night? Is about a free win card in Standard?
Yeah.
History of Benalia.
Yeah.
Those decks are not beating that card, right? Like the 1,000-Year Storm, like whatever decks are not beating History of Benalia because they're gonna have to spend removal or die, and then they can't combo off.
Yep.
I just don't.
Yeah, they just have like 1,000-Year Storms in hand and whatever else, and they're just getting hit as they have like expensive cards.
Right. Or what happens when they get that deck gets Knight of Autumn and it loses, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't buy that.
Well, that's why you have Omniscience, so that you just win that turn.
Yeah, exactly. We had it all planned out. We also just haven't got around to it, but like our whiteboard list is funny. We should almost get a picture and post it
Oh yeah.
so people can see just our giant. We have a huge whiteboard in the dining room that's just full right now of just deck names of, like what was the Hell's Angels deck? It was like,
Oh yeah, you just play like Naya Angels splashing black for something or other. I forget what we had at the
maybe
time.
Bolus. I don't
Yeah,
know.
who
It's like
knows?
Aurelian Bolus deck. Just a bunch of goofy stuff, man. We tried we will try everything, good or bad. We jokingly built Blue Black Storytime.
Which ended up being nuts.
Yeah.
What is Blue Black
So
Story
it's
Time?
playing
Blue Black Sagas.
yeah, and Traxos and 4 Voltaic Servant.
Oh, I have seen this
The
deck.
2-mana 1/3 that untaps an artifacts. We get them with our Traxos.
4 mana 7/7.
Yeah, 4-mana 7/7.
Yeah, that deck did look sweet.
So it actually won a fair amount of matches on just the back of the sagas being so good. Phyrexian Scriptures being just pretty strong.
Yeah.
And then it had the old Snapcaster for historic spells in Rona, where you can play a Rona and get back your Eldest Report and recast it when on turn 8 or 9, It was pretty funny. But it actually, so the reason the deck ended up being good was because it played Karn, Treasure Maps, and Tezzeret, Artifice Masters.
If it wanted, it could draw 4 cards per turn.
Yeah.
Or if it wanted, it could make 5/5s per turn. Like,
Yeah, and there is definitely something there. We don't have the perfect combination. It probably isn't Traxos. It might be. Traxos was fine. And we also had like Zahid.
Yeah,
and it was, we had a lot of big beaters, which were huge. Like Zahid's massive.
yeah.
Like, nothing kills it. It's just a gigantic beater, and the Phyrexian Scriptures make it 6/7. It's just massive, right? But the big thing to the deck was being able to flip a treasure map, play a Karn minus, and then next turn play a Tezzeret, make a Thopter minus Karn again, and you're sitting on a couple 6/6s or 7/7s, and the next they can't really answer these planeswalkers very easily. There's definitely going to be something with blue-black control sort of artifact style like that. I think there's definitely something there. I just don't know what the deck looks like yet.
It nicely shored up the issues we found with blue-white, trying to build blue-white control decks, because they've lost their some of their more powerful interactive spells in Cast Out. They've also lost some of their more powerful threats in Gear Hulk. And so you're just kind of left with a pile of more medium cards relying on Teferi that can't close the game when it needs to.
Your mana's significantly
And your
worse,
mana's
too.
a lot worse.
Right, yeah.
So blue-black has good mana. It has similar amounts of card advantage in Treasure Map, Tezzeret, and Karn, which all draw cards. But all of those things also are threats when you want them to be. So
Right.
Yeah.
And you can also just play Doom Whisper in this deck, right? And because Vraska's Contempt is the only answer to 11 or 12 of these cards,
Yeah.
right? That they're choked out of Vraska's Contempt, and nothing else really kills these threats. And I think that's the way to do it. Is you don't want to play just a couple that you lose to Vraska's Contempt or Assassin's Trophy, right? But now with the combination of Eldest Reborn, 10 or 11 just blue-black huge haymakers, as long as you don't die early, and Walk the Blank is pretty good actually. Cast downs, Phyrexian Scriptures, you can sort of control the board enough, or you could play Ritual Suit and just go full control. I think there's definitely something around the blue-black style of deck like that just sort of has some treasure maps, some thematic compass. That card was really good. Yeah, and just sort of control the board. I think that could be something really powerful because you can't answer all those threats, and they really spiral out of control.
Yeah, you're kind of attacking from a lot of different angles, and your card advantage is really...
Yeah, and it's sort of just a tap-out threat deck, right? It was pretty good.
Yeah.
So
There's legs there.
I think there is. I don't know what the best deck looks like, but we'll find something.
And you were saying you think Bug is probably one of the better decks in the format.
Yeah.
As it stands.
Yeah, I think Jeskai is phenomenal. I think that it's so flexible. I think that, one of the big things I was working on was a Jeskai midrange deck that its sideboard was the 4th Teferi some negates, Sinister Sabotage, Settle the Wreckage, Deafening Clarion, right?
So you're just kind of moving into a control deck.
Shove out some of the mid-range creatures, keep some that are insane, Aurelia or something that can win on its own, and then just bring in about a huge control package and people leaving removal that isn't good against you. There's all these, they board weird, so you can, Jeskai just so flexible. And then Bug seems just so powerful.
Bug has a lot of powerful cards, and it has similar flexibility. It can board into the counter magic the same way Jeskai can. It can board into Ritual of Soots. It can board into, And there's a bunch of different ways to take the Bug deck. Like we were talking about Vraska Golgari Queen being good, but you could also just play like a Doom Whisperer mid-range bomb threat. There's
lots of different ways to build. So we'll see, and that's just going to be a contextual thing of how the meta shapes up and what lines up well. Like the Azoni deck might just not line up well because people are playing Chain Whirlers and maybe Path of Metal. Because other people have kind of been exploring that card. So Azoni just doesn't. Glowspore Shaman, Llanowar Elves, Azoni does not look good against stuff that deals 1 damage to everything, right?
Yeah.
So things are just gonna. We'll see, but you can see some decks, and this is why I say the Jeskai and Bug decks, is that they're just inherently powerful. They're just, no matter what someone's doing, they can do their thing and be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Format looks like it's going to be really sweet.
I'm so excited. I just can't wait to start playing with these cards.
They're sweet. They're fun.
Man,
there's a lot of decisions.
Yeah, GP Montreal in 2 weekends too.
Before we move on to the next topic, because we've been talking about new decks and everything for a while, we're all going, the whole DWC squad, including our social media manager, is going to be at GP Montreal.
Yep.
Probably on the Saturday night, we're going to, at the end of the venue, going to all hang out, right?
Pub night.
We're going to have a DWC pub night. If anyone, we'll have our Discord channel and everything, or you just want to message us, we'll find somewhere hopefully close to the venue if that can hold.
It's right downtown. So
we'll find a pub or something that holds all of us and come hang out with us, and there'll be a bunch of local Canadian players that'll come along anyway, and just have fun and
I'm excited.
Talk Magic and talk Wizard stuff. It'll be awesome.
Drink beers.
Yeah, eat
Mostly
some foods.
that.
I think it'll be awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time.
Come hang out.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Speaking of sealed pools, I guess we can move on to our topic.
Yeah.
So
for GP Montreal.
So we got asked on Facebook from one of our listeners because we tend to talk a lot when it comes to limited formats about how much Adam loves to play 5-color pile.
Confirmed.
And he talks about that kind of strategy in sealed and draft a lot. And one of our listeners was kind of curious and asked, well, hey, how do I go about doing that, playing that kind of strategy? How do I know when I can play this sort of deck based on my pool? Kind of just asking questions about that in general. So we're going to dive a little bit into 5-color pile today on the dawn of Guilds of Ravnica, which is a multicolored set where you most likely will be able to do 5-color nonsense.
Definitely will be able to.
Some how-to tips for all you disbelievers.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say I really appreciate the listener who messaged us.
Yeah, it was a great question.
I love getting questions like this. People are curious about, hey, I'm not great at this. Do you have some tips? Anything about the game? I mean, even in our Discord channel, someone was talking about, getting rattled from another player in a game and different strategies you can use. We can talk about anything from competitive events to help you win. Just message us and we're happy to talk about every topic. So I really appreciate the question. So I think this is a cool topic.
All right. So, Adam, how do I go about building my 5-color pile of garbage deck?
Well, I think a lot of it is, we should break this down first into sealed and draft, right?
Okay, so we'll start with sealed.
Yeah, it's definitely different in sealed than it is in draft. Mm-hmm. Cam's also sort of become an expert at doing this as well because he learned at the Player of the Year time in which we were drafting and playing a lot of sealed in Hour of Devastation Amonkhet, which was a 5-color pile format.
Yeah, I took a few short seminars from Adam about
and
how to do it all.
We would often talk about the sort of deeper nuances even that we might not have time to get into today about the sort of creature base you want and what you're actually looking for and sort of what matters on the board and what your overall strategy should be. And we'll get to that if we have time, but generally the first step is, does the format in sealed support the lands, right? Cons had tri-lands. This set has gates.
Yeah.
And in your packs, the basic lands are gates. So your
which
packs in sealed,
specifically for Guilds of Ravnica is a big kind of sign that, hey, you can probably be a little more greedy with your mana base because you're going to have access to a lot more of these dual lands.
You're going to open more dual lands than normal.
Yeah.
Right. And it was kind of similar with cons in that there were fetches, tri-lands, and duels.
Yeah.
So it was all over the place. You would have tons of them. The other step is there, manoliths, which there are sort of in this format, right? The lockets.
Yes.
Which are incredible. Those should be in your deck.
The lockets are very good.
The lockets are some of the best cards in this format. Like, you should always play one or two.
Yeah.
Maybe
Mana
more.
fixing. It draws you a card late game, right?
2 cards.
2 cards.
2.
Draws you 2 cards.
Yeah, ramps up my guys and then draws me more gas. Deal.
Yeah.
In limited, that's bonkers. These cards are phenomenal. And even if you're mostly aggressive, you're going to have some 5s and 6s in your limited. You better in your sealed pool. And so you should be playing this card. And worst come to worst, it's just a cycler for 2 cards later, right? That's nuts. So, yeah, these cards are phenomenal, and you should be playing multiple copies. They let you do a lot of things, and you can splash off them. They'll help fix your mana. So that's the first step, is identifying, are there Gift of Paradise?
Yeah.
District Guide has got to be one of the...
District Guide's going to be one of the best fixers, just because...
It's phenomenal early and late.
Yeah, you'll have gates in your pool, and it can go get them. So
right, and there's going to be times where you're stuck with a removal spell that you splashed in your hand that you can't cast, but you have all 4, or say 3 of your 4 colors or 4 of your 5 colors, and you can't cast this removal spell, and you draw a District Guide, and now you can. And that happens. So, but District Guide also just lets you cast your main spells, your main 3 or 4 colors early. So that's part of it. So it's identifying the mana base. You also... This is a complicated process, but you also should be secretly, this is the trick, I think, is you should be base 2 colors.
yeah,
Splashing 3rd, 4th, and 5th to lesser extent as it goes.
the most successful 5-color pile decks I've played were base 2 colors with leaning a bit into a 3rd with like there was one I almost won a PPTQ with. I just got a bit unlucky. I think I've told this story, but it was like base green black with some white creatures in like the 3 and 4 slot, a blue spell or 2, it was like an enchantment removal, like a something, and then an Hour of Devastation and like a red removal spell. So you only have like 1 or 2 cards in the 4th and 5th colors.
Double red too, I like it.
Well, yeah, you're at the board.
Yeah,
That's greedy.
That is greedy, but I respect it.
Yeah.
And I would do it too if I was in that kind of archetype, right? You got to kind of be
Well,
greedy.
see, for Hour of Devastation, you had cards like Gift of Paradise, which
Right,
fix,
that just
which
auto
fix
fix
They
that.
just
double.
make you double
Yeah.
red.
Right. That was much easier in that
Hour of
format.
Devastation, you have Traveler's Amulet, you had Manolith, you had
it was
Gift of
splashing,
Paradise.
no problem.
And you didn't have dual lands, you had all of these fixing options.
It was almost easier to play a double because
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
Gift.
Now you don't have all these fixing options per se, but you have the lockets and you have all the dual lands, so you're still kind of at the same amount.
in sealed, it's going to be just, you're going to have to, the first thing you're going to have to do is check your lands. The other thing is, it shouldn't generally, depending on how degenerate the format is. So one of the next steps is, does the format have just tons of powerful cards, multicolored cards across all colors?
Yeah.
Like, is there a reason to just play every color because the cards are just objectively, if you do this, your deck is just objectively on a power level just astronomically higher than playing a fair 2-color deck, and that you're willing to sacrifice some of the consistency because the consistency secretly doesn't matter. This is what happened in Modern Masters, Amonkhet, Hour, right?
Yeah, Modern Masters and Cons of Tarkir for sure. Did Amonkhet and Hour have
No,
that many multicolor
Cons had
cards?
some really good aggro stuff. You had to be careful.
Okay.
Yeah. But less so Hour of Devastation, I would say.
I want
Yeah.
to say that the reason 5-color was good in Hour of Devastation wasn't that there was a lot of powerful multicolor cards. It's that every color had powerful removal.
Right.
And there
it
was a
just
lot
let
of
you-
wrath.
Yeah, and it just let you sort of play everything.
So
powerful.
because 5-color decks generally take longer to set up and they want to play a longer game, having options to all of the best removal from the entire format made that control deck powerful.
Yeah, and that's what you want to be doing in your 5-color
Yeah.
deck. But generally in normal sets, playing 5-color shouldn't be your first objective. In fact, I tend to think of it as a failsafe in formats like this. Ideally, I think you should build your sealed pool with 2 colors splashing a 3rd probably for very powerful cards. But 5-color pile is actually a way you can salvage a really bad sealed pool.
Yeah.
Your sealed pool is just only, let's say, 14 playables across 2 color. You know what I mean? You have 7 from each color.
Mhm.
So a 2-color deck gives you 14 playables. Splashing a third is just not really possible because there's not even enough playables. This happens. But if you play all 5 colors because you have the fixing, perhaps some of your commons were also gates that could have been played. You have the fixing because of this. It lets you.
And with a set like this with multiple multicolor cards, you have gold cards that will have a color, they'll have colors in their mana cost that are one of your base 2 colors.
Exactly.
And then it's not much of a reach to splash the other one.
And it becomes easy. So you can salvage some weaker sealed pools taking the 5-color approach, or the other option is your mana is incredible. 5 colors is free. This is rare, but this also happens in sealed. So it's the first step to me in sets like, Guilds of Ravnica's identifying the mana base, is, can I just play whatever I want? I do that. It's sealed because if the set lets you, why not?
Yep.
If you have like 4 gates and the new Rupture Spire card, like enters tapped and you have to pay 1, is, it's not great because you have to pay for it, but if it's letting you cast very powerful cards, like one of that is amazing fixing. You can think of it as a rampant growth.
Yeah,
I think you probably want 7 gates to be able to go 5, maybe more, probably 9
Well,
gates.
in every sealed pool, you'll have a minimum of 6.
Right. I think you want 9 to 10 to really go off with a 5-color deck, and it'd still be a base 2 color splashing the other ones, right? I think that's about my rule for going full, like 4 or 5 color is about 9.
9 dual lands.
9, if there isn't Manaless and Gifts of Paradise. Like if we're just talking about District Guides and Gates, then I want 9.
Okay, but if I have, a decent amount of lockets and maybe a district guide or 2, then we can...
Well, if we're talking 2 District Guides, we're base green doing whatever we want.
Yeah. Locket's also great. If you have like a circuitous route, the new rampant growth, or not rampant growth, sorry, the new explosive vegetation.
Yeah.
You can be base green with that
If
thing.
it's going to be base green is the best.
Yeah, generally it always is.
Lockets are pretty slow, so you got to be careful. But yeah, no, if you have a couple District Guides in your base green, you can probably just pop off. And you still have a lot of gates. You're going to have minimum 6.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the explosive vegetation too. That gets gates, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got a brew.
Yeah.
We got a Zakama brew.
Green black dinos, go get some gates and cast a comma.
Yeah, get a couple gates off the explosive vegetation, cast a comma, instantly stabilize. Because you either gain 9, you blow up their enchantment or artifact, or you bolt creatures. Because it Urza lands when you cast it, right? It untaps all your lands. So if you have like 14 lands, you just...
I was playing it against the Karn Tezzeret deck. It was some nice 6/6 constructs he had. It was a shame they got naturalized.
Yeah, it was I won that game, though. I finally drew a walk the plank for that.
Yeah, because you had a Maze of it.
Yeah.
And Izakama couldn't attack.
Got him. Nice. Standard testing has been wild. But
I forgot that card existed.
Yeah, so that's for sealed. Those are the kind of key cards for this format at your pre-release. Like, I guarantee you, if you are capable of identifying the powerful cards and your pool has about 9 to 10 gates and 2 district guides, you can do whatever you want. You can please just play all your busted cards. I almost guarantee you. It's the nuances of now how you build your curve are different in these decks, in these sealed decks. One of the things that's really important that I used to go off to Cam about was that you almost just want to take value or prioritize, and this is in draft more so, I guess, but in sealed building, you have to think about this. You almost want to prioritize early cheap creatures that are possible to create value somehow, because a lot of your lands are going to be coming into play tapped or clunky that you can't really reliably cast your 4-drop safely all the time. You probably have a 4th land into play tap. So you need guys that can just gum up the ground early and do stuff early. You need cheap interaction, cheap guys, and you'll figure out your powerful loops later. You just need to, in these sort of 5-color piles, survive.
Yeah.
Survival is key because eventually, if you've built your 5-color pile correctly, you have a sort of assortment or synergy of cards that is overwhelming. Last format even, it was, what was the combo? The Secret Salvager, Gravedigger, Macabre Waltz, right? Like, you've intentionally built your deck to have those 3 things so you can just infinitely, quote unquote, recur things. You can grind anyone out given enough time.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of, so you want those as a finisher when you're building 5-color decks, both in sealed and draft. Cards like Patient Rebuilding let you sort of do whatever you want. These powerful, difficult to interact with finishers or unique ways of recurring things, right? These are what you're looking for, and then you need to not die early and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
That's sort of the best method to build 5-color in my experience, and I've done quite well, right? Like, I've 8-1'd 3 different sealed GPs doing this
Yeah, if you look at your 2 and 3 drops on your curve when you're laying out your deck, it should look like
on day one drafting. Yeah.
yeah, it should look like a defensively slanted 2-color deck almost. Like your 2 base colors, you have some defensive 2 and 3 drops that can provide value later. Like that's what that sort of the bottom of your curve should look like.
Yeah, like one of the best things in our Amiket was the 2 mana 2/2, the white one that let you exert to make a 1/1.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Steward of Solidarity.
Steward of Solidarity was like, I would take it not as aggressive, but as just a defensive card that bought me time.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best sort of dirtle do nothing cards, right? And that's, you have to build it with those early value creatures in mind to not die. You don't want to just play like curve out with 3 and 4 drops. You have to have ways to beat that and not die to that, but that's not what you're looking to do. Yeah, it's complicated. It's tough.
I think that's like one of the most common mistakes, though. It's like people go to build a 5-color deck and they're heavily into 3 to 4 of the colors, and they're all into like, I'm playing 5-color bombs, and so their deck is only fixing in bombs, and then while they're casting all their fixing, they die or they fall behind too far.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake. That's what happens to a majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the biggest deal. You don't need all bombs.
Mhm.
That's the mistake people make in drafting.
You
or
need like 2
building.
to 3.
You just need, really, and that's the other thing. You can't really go 5-color pile if you just don't have a hard to interact with. A good way to win. You need a good, but also those little creatures help you win later.
Yeah, but generally you're not building a 5-color deck unless you have these really good cards spread out.
You're gonna have
across all these
your
colors.
curve, right?
Yeah.
Which is why you have a Steward of Solidarity on 2, an Hour of Devastation on 5, right? Gravediggers, like you
Yeah.
have ways to you will grind them out given enough time.
Yeah.
So for sealed, that's generally what you're looking for.
It's not even really, like philosophically, it's not that different from a 2-color deck. It's just that you're taking your base 2-color deck, and then you're taking your base green-white, you're taking your green and white removal spells, and you're upgrading them to red and black ones, and you're taking some bomb and you're upgrading it to a blue one. But your deck is still laid out similarly.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you build it, what I like to do, and I know that some other people I've talked to about this started doing the same thing, is that even at a GP, whatever, when I'm building my mana base, I just write out how many sources of each color do I have, and how many, I make a table, how many cards of each color am I playing? What are my main 2 colors? And then how many sources of each color do I have? And I try and balance those out. If I'm playing 2 or 3 black removal spells and that's it in the deck, I'll have 2 black sources probably just off the gates. And then if I have a way to get a basic and I need it, I'll play a swamp, but otherwise I won't, like the district guide will find it or whatever, right? And you just have to kind of trust in that process, but write it out and you'll see that it's actually not that greedy. A lot of times when you have a bunch of tri-lands or dual lands, you'll end up with a mana base that has 7 blue sources, 7 red sources, 8 green sources, 9 white sources, and then 3 black sources. And the 4 colors are actually, you cast all your spells, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Happens actually quite often. And all these players would always say to me, they still do, oh, it's so greedy. I'm like, well, I mean, I have 7 or 6 to 8 of each color in sources because I took fixing.
And I think it's that they would, even if another trap not to fall into is, I guess what we're trying to say is, even if you have gates, a lot of people will want to put in 1 of each basic and a couple more of their main colors. But Adam has had, and I've had, very successful 5-color decks where you have just your fixing and then your only basics are forests and swamps.
Yeah, if you're main 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just, they go, oh, well, I'm playing 3 colors. Okay, my mana base is 6/6/6.
Yeah.
And it's like, or 5/5, 6/6/5. And it's like, well, maybe that's not the best way to construct that, right?
Yeah, and that type of mana base construction does not carry over into 5-color.
Right. You need to, you don't just put 3 of each in and hope for the best. Like, that's your 5-color deck's gonna be trash. You can't do that. So you need to figure out the baseline. And the same thing applies in draft. The only difference, I suppose, with draft is picking. Again,
Yeah.
the main key here for draft is take fixing early.
Yeah. When you go into a draft, unlike with sealed where, you can just look at, do I have enough fixing to work with? If you want to, or think you're going to try and play a 5-color deck, or if in the middle of a draft you start thinking you're going to go 5 colors, you need to work to make sure that you have enough fixing. And generally this just means that you need to be completely fine passing quote unquote bombs or good removal somewhat early in the draft in favor of fixing, knowing that because you have a suitable amount of fixing, you can take bombs and removal from any color in packs 2 and 3.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to because of the way drafts work, that people on the colors you weren't worried about passing towards and feeding aren't passing you the second pack, so you can just take every bomb you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about pack one aggressively taking fixing. Obviously, this is not wise all the time. You have to identify when fixing is coming too late,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then also not be worth sacrificing power picks. Like it's a balance. You have to be very careful that you're not just blindly taking fixing. Because what if it doesn't work out? What if you don't get it? You still need to have a 2-color deck in mind, but you're willing to say, okay, well, it's pick 5. There's nothing great here, but there is an off-color duel. And everything else isn't great. Maybe I get another one, and then you take it, and you do, and then, okay, and there's another Guildgate, and then you keep getting lockets. And then from there, you go into pack 2 going, okay, we're good. We can start taking kind of whatever. Because no one else at the table is taking them highly. So it's important to sort of read the draft in that sense.
Yeah. And importantly, it's way safer and way more likely to work out doing it in that order. If you take some speculative fixing picks early, you can then, if you want, splash the other colors and use your fixing for the powerful cards you pick up, and you'll be fine. But if you take speculative threats and removal early in like a 3rd and 4th color, and then don't get the fixing, like now you've completely wasted picks because like
your deck's gonna be terrible. You train wrecked yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats, you played yourself
because you took like the fact that you took those bombs means that the pack isn't great anymore. Means that the person next to you is taking the fixing, and they're going to be the one casting everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're now going into taking all the fixing, so you're not going to get it in pack 2.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you got to be careful with the order in which you select them.
Yeah,
that's definitely a part of it.
Yeah, and I guess to tie all this together, beyond really just building your deck, when it comes to actually playing your 5-color deck, you really wanted to touch on how important mulligan decisions are. And in fact, the decision to not mulligan is.
Well, this is something Cam used to bring up all the time, and I think Curtis as well, about you actually can't really. I used to do it all. I used to joke about it, and people used to call me greedy all the time. And I said, no, I know it looks bad. I know this looks bad. But hear me out. When you keep a hand that's like, forest, plains, island, and then it's got all black and
Yeah.
Now it has black and red cards in it, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get those hands.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to know. So a lot of times in these decks, you got to keep those hands knowing that it'll work out because you have the fixing. You will draw your fixing because you have enough fixing in your deck. You have 11 sources out of your 40 draw or your 33 draws left. Each draw step are fixing or potentially fixing. So you have 33% chance of your draw step at that point even to get out of it, right? So it's pretty good on the draw. Like you'll draw main color source or something. But again, you need to know what your main colors are and what you're going to be able to draw and cast. You need to know everything in your deck. It's not like, I have lands and spells and a curve in a 2-color deck. You just keep. Mm-hmm. You need to know which lands are left, what you're likely to draw. You need to really think about your mulligans, and you need to trust that, let's say you have 11 green sources because you're base green, and then you're splashing across because you have like 6 green duels, right? And you're splashing the other 4 colors. Like you need to trust that you'll draw one, and you don't have to you can keep a hand without a green source.
Yeah, you got to have faith that you constructed your mana base correctly.
And if you didn't, that's on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just mull because I got like off-color spells in my hand. I can't cut. You can't. Your deck is based on power, so it's going to be inconsistent sometimes. But you got to hope that you can draw into the consistency. And going down to 5 or 4 in those decks is just you're just dead. You can't because you need everything. It's a deck that it's a limited strategy where the whole is greater than the parts, right?
Yeah.
You need everything to come together.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, mull trash, right? But, if you're a little worried, if it's a little iffy, those hands that are speculative, you got to keep speculative keeps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where you might be somebody who is very risk averse and mull quickly, right? If you got to actually pause to think about whether this is speculatively good enough to keep.
And in general, because these like speculative hands are usually the ones that are missing a color, or, you have your red removal spell, but there's no red sources. Or the other way around, you have like your green 2-drop and your green 3-drop, but there's no green mana. In general, if you've already drawn your splash colors, you're way more likely to draw your main colors, so those hands are much more keepable. And then it depends on the other way around. If you have like what looks like a functioning 2-color hand, but it has some splash cards in it, just when and how important is it that you cast that splash card? If it's some like very efficient removal spell that you want to save for their bomb, then you're not casting it early anyway, so it's fine. And the 6 cards without it is probably better than if you mulligan. So
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about 5-color piles. Yeah, it's a fun experiment, though. I think it's something that, you're doing the Iron Man pre-release, you're playing all 5 or 6 pre-releases. Try it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good deck building skill and it demands focus while you play about what you can draw, how you're using your mana. It's not easy. It just makes the game more of a puzzle. It's kind of a hard mode deck building thing and it's fun. I enjoy doing it. I don't think it's always the best strategy, but there are times where it is, and it's definitely worth identifying those times. We talked about the times where it's best to take this strategy, but I think you can try it if your pool doesn't work out, or you're not sure what to do. Try it. Everyone around you will think you're crazy, but
it is super rewarding when you win and your opponent is just, I can't believe 5 colors, so lucky you cast all those. You're never going to draw like that again. And
then you just, you
Yeah,
win your
man.
pre-release without even trying.
Right on.
Yeah, good games. Thanks for the match.
Speaking of pre-releases, you guys playing this weekend?
Yeah.
How many?
I'm not sure yet. I'm too old to Iron Man, but
Yeah,
I'm being bullied. I'm being peer pressured into trying to Iron Man.
Yeah.
I'm skipping Midnight this time. Tower reinstated Midnight pre-release, but I have something going on Saturday night, so I want to be not a zombie for that.
Something going on, eh?
Are you not going to our friends?
We're all going to Mike's, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm closing Saturday night, so I can't.
But yeah, Saturday
My work
night.
schedule
but
sucks.
we're just missing 2 at a Giant, so whatever. And Midnight because of that.
Yeah, and Midnight so that I'm not.
But otherwise, I'm going to
zombie.
play. I'll play
But
with
yeah,
Saturday night.
I'm playing both single player on Saturday and the one on Sunday, and probably not a 2-headed giant, but
yeah.
I'm still debating whether I'm going to play Saturday morning, just because I close Friday night, so I'll be at work till at least 3 in the morning, and then I close Saturday night as well. So rinse, repeat.
But if you're in the Ottawa area and at the Tower pre-releases, come say hi to the DWC squad. If not, we'll see you at GP Montreal.
Yeah. All right. I think that was a good episode 100, guys.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was a passionate topic, one that I feel deeply about, I care deeply about.
Care deeply about these 5-color piles of garbage.
I'm a big barnyard deck building kind of guy, Diversity and inclusivity are important to me.
All right. Thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. Still pre-orders for Guilds of Ravnica are up there. I pre-ordered a bunch of cards.
Aren't Aurelia's like...
Aurelia's are surprisingly cheap. I pre-ordered a couple for like 15.
If I'm going to check all my
Canadian.
pre-orders, I can't remember if I pre-ordered them or not, but
Canadian.
I'm going to. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. Also on Twitter at DWC Podcast 1. And on Patreon, patreon.com/DWC Podcast. Don't forget about our 100 for 100 giveaway. $50 of store credit for 2 lucky winners. Retweet this episode on Twitter, follow us on Twitter, or share it on Facebook and like our page on Facebook to get entered for your chance to win.
Yeah, it's 100 episodes. It's actually crazy looking back that we did this for 100 episodes.
Fuck. Here's to 100 more, guys.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Can't wait. We'll catch y'all next week.
Later.